Before we dive in, hit that subscribe button, smash the like, and comment below if you think you could handle the dark truths lurking in the shadows of everyday life. You won't want to blink. It was a crisp October morning in Louisville, Kentucky, the kind that usually carried the faint smell of autumn leaves and damp concrete. But inside a modest two-story apartment on the west side of the city, the air was thick with fear, tension, and something far more sinister. The emergency call came in just after 10 a.m. Paramedics were rushed to a small, dimly lit bedroom where a child, barely 2 years old, lay unresponsive. Severe head trauma. Doctors would later describe the injuries as catastrophic, the kind that rarely occurred accidentally. Neighbors described hearing muffled cries and sudden thuds just hours before. It sounded like someone dropped something, or someone, one woman whispered, trembling, refusing to give her name. By the time first responders arrived, the child was pale, barely breathing, and surrounded by scattered toys, a diaper bag thrown carelessly across the floor. The mother, young and visibly shaken, explained that her boyfriend, Jorge Jesus Perez Ramirez, had been changing the child's diaper. She said he had a temper, but insisted he would never hurt the baby. Detectives arrived within minutes, surveying the cramped apartment like predators mapping their territory. The walls were peppered with family photos, innocent memories frozen in frames, photos of smiling toddlers, backyard barbecues, holidays that now seemed a lifetime away. On the floor, among the chaos, lay a diaper, a bottle, and a faint smear of blood. The scene was quiet but charged, like the calm before a storm. Jorge was nowhere in sight. Witnesses reported seeing a car speeding away just as emergency crews arrived. Detectives combed the apartment for clues, noticing details that didn't add up. The placement of the child's crib, the odd angle of the tiny chair where the baby had been seated, and an unsettling trail of fingerprints smeared across a dresser drawer. Every detail whispered questions that demanded answers. The coroner's preliminary report stunned even the seasoned detectives. The injuries were consistent with what's known as pediatric abusive head trauma, a term used for deliberate, violent acts that cause brain injury in infants. In simple terms, the child had been subjected to force that no ordinary diaper change could explain. The investigators' minds raced. Was this an accident that went horrifyingly wrong, or had someone crossed a line that could never be uncrossed? Outside, the police set up a perimeter. The community murmured in disbelief, terrified that someone capable of such violence lived among them. News crews arrived, cameras flashing, capturing the eerie calm of a home that had become a crime scene. And in the shadows of the apartment, hidden beneath a pile of laundry, a small, blood-stained note waited to be discovered. It wasn't a confession, not exactly, but the words scrawled in jagged handwriting hinted at a darkness deeper than anyone could imagine. As detectives carefully unfolded the note, tracing each line with gloved fingers, a chilling realization hit them. This wasn't just a moment of lost control. Someone had planned, or at least been aware of the consequences of their actions. The words were ambiguous, but the threat was unmistakable. And then, when they opened the locked basement door, what they found changed everything. The basement smelled of mildew and damp wood, the faint scent of bleach lingering as if someone had tried to scrub away more than just dirt. Detective Marlowe flicked on his flashlight, the beam slicing through darkness thick enough to choke on. At first glance, it seemed empty, but then the edge of something caught his eye. A small, blood-streaked toy car tucked behind a stack of cardboard boxes. He reached for it, gloves crunching against the debris, and that's when the real horror revealed itself. Beneath the boxes was a hidden compartment, roughly cut into the basement floor. It wasn't large, barely enough for a child or a small adult to curl into, but inside lay a folder, damp and warped, filled with photos of bruises on the child's fragile body, each one more severe than the last. The images weren't recent. Some dated back months. Someone had been documenting the injuries, keeping a record of the suffering. The realization hit Marlowe like a punch. This wasn't impulsive anger. This was obsession. Outside, the hunt for Jorge Perez Ramirez had intensified. Police had canvassed the surrounding streets, checking surveillance cameras, questioning neighbors, and even tracking his cell phone pings. Every lead seemed to circle back to one troubling fact. He had vanished. Friends described him as controlling and volatile, but none could fathom the extent of what investigators were uncovering. His social media posts painted a picture of normalcy, everyday smiles and shared meals, yet the basement photos told an entirely different story, one of hidden cruelty and fear. At the hospital, the child's condition remained critical. Doctors worked tirelessly, monitoring intracranial pressure, performing scans, and stabilizing fragile vitals. Nurses whispered among themselves, noting the severity of the trauma. One commented that she had never seen injuries so clearly indicative of wanton manipulation in a child so young. The case was now officially in the hands of the state's Child Protection Services, who began documenting every interaction, every detail for the eventual court proceedings. Detective Marlowe pored over the evidence, pacing the cramped apartment upstairs. The note, the hidden folder, and the photographs formed a pattern. Each pointed to calculated aggression, a premeditated approach that went beyond a single incident. The question now was why? Why target a child so defenseless? Was it rage, neglect, or something darker, a compulsion lurking beneath the surface? Then came the break. A neighbor mentioned a second apartment building where Jorge Perez Ramirez had been spotted days before. Officers arrived to find signs of a struggle, a shattered lamp, and most chillingly, a baby monitor with its wires ripped out and thrown across the floor. Someone had been there, but Jorge was gone again. The detectives realized they were not just chasing a suspect, they were chasing a man who might strike again, someone who seemed increasingly desperate and dangerous.
As forensic analysts processed the basement photos and the remnants of the disturbed apartment, one detail leapt out: a date, written in barely legible ink, matching the day of the child's most severe injuries. It was not a random coincidence. The evidence suggested that Jorge had escalated over time, and the diaper change incident was not an accident, but the climax of a growing pattern of abuse. And then, in the very last photo of the hidden folder, something appeared that no one could have anticipated. A second child. A face half hidden, eyes wide with fear. A tiny hand pressed to a wall. Detective Marlowe froze, heart pounding. This case was bigger than they had imagined, and the stakes had just doubled. The hunt for Jorge Perez Ramirez had become urgent, not just to bring a perpetrator to justice, but to protect another innocent life from unimaginable danger. And when the lead detective traced the photo back to a storage unit, what they found inside made every theory they had considered seem like child's play. The storage unit was unassuming, tucked between rows of others in a dimly lit lot on the outskirts of Louisville. Detective Marlowe approached cautiously, flashlight in hand, the quiet hum of the night amplifying every creak of the metal door. When the lock finally clicked open, a wave of cold air hit him, stale, metallic, and terrifyingly still. Inside, the scene was chaos frozen in time. Boxes lay strewn across the concrete floor, clothes mixed with discarded toys, and in the corner, a small mattress with a thin, blood-stained blanket. Then he saw it, a crib, abandoned but carefully placed, as if someone had wanted the child's suffering deliberate yet contained. And next to it, the second child from the hidden photo in the basement, alive, but terrified, clutching a worn teddy bear. The baby's eyes widened in recognition, a silent plea for help that cut through the detective's resolve. It was then that the sound of footsteps echoed from the back of the unit. Jorge Perez Ramirez appeared, disheveled, eyes darting with panic and rage. He cried, "You can't take them!" His voice cracking, a dangerous edge beneath the desperation. Detectives moved in, commanding him to the ground, their training sharp, precise, but the tension in the air was palpable, electric. Every second felt like a lifetime as officers restrained him, handcuffs clicking into place. Once Jorge was secured, forensic experts and detectives began piecing together the shocking truth. The basement folder, the hidden photos, the note, all of it pointed to a pattern of escalating abuse. Over months, the first child had been manipulated, monitored, and injured under the guise of care, and the second child had been quietly isolated, hidden from the world, evidence of a plan that could have ended in tragedy. It was methodical, horrifying, and deliberate. In court documents released shortly after the arrest, prosecutors alleged that Jorge had inflicted the injuries with what they termed wanton manipulation, a deliberate act that went beyond ordinary rage or negligence. The diaper change incident had been the tipping point, the moment where hidden cruelty exploded into life-threatening violence. And the storage unit? A secret refuge for his obsession, a place where he thought no one would ever find his actions. The trial would later reveal chilling testimony from doctors and child protection officers, describing how small, calculated movements caused the catastrophic trauma, how bruises and marks were documented in ways that no innocent caretaker would ever have recorded. Witnesses spoke of Jorge's controlling behavior, and neighbors admitted noticing a pattern of short tempers and strange disappearances. Every detail painted a portrait of a man capable of more than anyone could imagine. And just as the story seemed like it could not get any darker, evidence surfaced suggesting that Jorge had considered moving the children out of state, attempting to escape justice entirely. But thanks to the vigilance of investigators and a trail of meticulous clues, the children were safe, and the perpetrator was finally behind bars. Yet even as the courtroom doors closed and the trial began, a haunting question lingered in the minds of everyone involved. How many victims had gone unnoticed? How many hidden corners of ordinary homes held secrets too dark to imagine? You thought the danger was over, but in the quiet moments, every creak of a floorboard, every shadow in a room reminded them that sometimes the worst monsters are those we invite into our homes, cloaked in normalcy, hidden in plain sight. If you thought this story was intense, you're only scratching the surface. Hit subscribe, because in the world of true crime, the darkest truths are always just around the corner.